Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Hero Movie Podcast, your greatest source for superhero movie discussion in the multiverse. I'm your host, Adam Portress, and joining me today, we only call him the Ripper after Taco Night, Sweet Sean Kovacs from the internet.
I don't have any idea what that even means.
And that's not Green Day's Billy Joe Armstrong, it's Bruce Leslie.
I'm a prickly pear in a top hat, Victorian style.
Welcome back, everybody. This week we are talking about Gotham by Gaslight. And if you just only know that name, you know as much as I did going into this thing. But
had you read it? Had you read it before, Bruce?
No, I mean, I was familiar with it, but I hadn't read it. Mainly just seen the art.
I read it, and I as a kid, I was like, not for me, because I read it when I was a child. I was probably, like 15 when I read it. And it just did not hit me. And so watching this today, it was almost like all new.
I do like that sometimes, especially I had that with, that's why I don't read books anymore, is because especially.
Yes, that's why.
No, hold on. Because I read a book and the book was so good, and then I watched the movie and I was very disappointed by the movie. So I'm like, boo to you, books. I'm going to the movies.
Well, the secret to that sometimes is like when you watch Jurassic Park, right? You watch the first Jurassic Park movie, then you read the book, and the book has a whole lot more, and it's like getting extra scenes, and it's just way better.
Now, okay, exactly.
And I read Jurassic Park in the jungle, so that added to it too.
Well, I read The Lost World before I watched the movie, and 10 minutes into The Lost World, I am like, I hate this. And then I'm just like, you know what? Books can just take a dive. I don't care.
Oh, it's the book's fault. Yeah, it's the book's fault for being too good.
That book is awful. That second book of Jurassic Park is
I've never read
worst.
it, but Adam paints the story.
Listen, I was in high school, and I don't read books. You got to give me a break. It was like I accomplished something.
Gotham by Gaslight was like double the price of a regular comic book on the on the racks. So at the time I couldn't buy it, but I loved that Mike Mignola cover. So it was one of those things where, it was one of those things where it's like the kind of guy who loves a show he hasn't seen yet, but he really liked the trailer for it. Or you haven't read the comic, but man, you love that one picture from it that you hang up on your bedroom wall. So I was kind of like that with Gotham by Gaslight.
Yeah. Well, we'll get all to that in just a couple of minutes here. Before we do want to say a big thank you to the people that support us over at patreon.com/HMP. Those awesome people get the pre-show, post-show, and, of course, the Dinger Zone, and vote on a movie that we watch every month. We have yet another member to add to the crew here. Justin Strawn coming in at that $5 level. Sean, a nickname, if you please.
Of course, as is my wont to do these days, I did a little snooping around on Justin Strawn, and I found that there is no one ridiculously famous named Justin Strawn, which is good for you, Justin. That means you can completely take it over and make it your own. I did see that the surname Strawn originates from Scotland. And of course, because we live in a modern world, they move on to other places. The Strawns do move. And I found that the majority of Strawns these days live in the United States. However, there are 6 Strawns who live on St. Kitts. And so, Justin Strawn, your new HMP nickname is St. Kitts.
St.
Cool.
Kitts, K-I-T-S?
K-I-T-T-S.
TTS,
like
pardon.
the car.
Oh, I see.
K-I-T-T-S.
That's even better.
Yeah. St. Kitts.
Now, just for clerical clarification, are we going ST period Kitts? I just want to get things right.
Oh boy.
I think you go capital S-A-I-N-T, like first name Saint, last name Kit.
That is how I have it written out.
Okay, that's how I initially wrote it. I just wanted to make a double check here because we want to make sure that all the peerage is correct.
Mm-hmm. My wife has a friend who went to veterinary school in St. Kitts, so I know they have a vet school there.
Well, there you go.
So good.
And now that lady has been murdering dogs and cats for 20 years.
So if you too would like to vote on what we watch, get the pre-show, post-show Dinger Zone, and of course a nickname, head on over to patreon.com/HMP rather, and join up at a rate, however big or small, whatever it means, make it something that meaning to you, and we appreciate that. Well, let's get into it, everybody. Here is the trailer for Gotham by Gaslight.
There's a butcher in this town preying on poor women, and the Gotham police stand twiddling their thumbs.
Your evening attire, sir.
That was not the suit. I need Alfred. I mean to rid Gotham of the Ripper. He's a skilled hunter, and he's just getting started.
You're studying me.
You're a fascinating subject.
I'm not just another pretty face.
Bruce Wayne, you are under arrest.
You can't imagine I'm actually the Ripper. The deluxe suite. I need to get out of here.
Gotham needs the Batman. Every moment puts women in danger.
Get off the street. Now!
Alrighty, that was the trailer for Gotham by Gaslight. You know what time it is.
It's time for Bruce's Comic Book Connection.
Bruce, what do you got for us this week?
Gotham by Gaslight is a DC Comics one-shot by Brian Augustin, I think is how you pronounce that, and Mike Mignola. Published in 1989 and aimed at a steampunk audience, though maybe 89 was a little early in the steampunk fandom. I'm not certain. It just seems like steampunk didn't come into my life until maybe the late 90s. But Wikipedia does tell me the term was coined by author K.W. Jeter in 1983, so I guess I was just a late bloomer. But personally, I think Gotham by Gaslight would be better classified as neo-Victorianism, but nobody asked me. Nobody ever asked me for some reason. Gotham by Gaslight is considered to be DC's first Elseworlds title, even though it did predate the Elseworlds imprint DC would use for a while. The comic was about Batman pursuing Jack the Ripper through the nighttime streets of Gotham City, but it diverges from the movie in many ways. In the comic, the identity of Jack the Ripper is different than in the film, and we also meet some different supporting characters in the comic book. For example, the story starts in Vienna, where Batman is getting psychotherapy from Sigmund Freud. And you have to agree that Freud would probably have a field day with the likes of Bruce Wayne. Once he gets back to Gotham City, Bruce looks at the case of a man who poisoned his wife and tried to commit suicide with the same poison, which left him alive with a permanent grin. And you guys may not be aware, but that story has parallels to an obscure comics character called the Joker. Also in the comic, it is Bruce Wayne's manservant Alfred who helps him escape from Arkham Asylum rather than stage actress Selena Kyle helping him escape from Blackgate Prison. And in the comic, we find out that Jack the Ripper is targeting women who look like Martha Wayne on account of how she rejected him for the likes of Thomas back in her swinging single days of what I'm guessing was the American Civil War. The Gotham by Gaslight comic was 52 pages long because even all the way back in 1989, DC was obsessed with the number 52. I guess they wanted to be 10 better than The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. Also, Gotham by Gaslight was set in 1889, putting it an even 100 years before its publication date, which is cool, I guess. I think the Gaslight world could have been an interesting one to revisit, but all things Batman got swept up in the culture tsunami that was Tim Burton's Batman a few months later, and the Gaslight world got shelved for a couple of years. The follow-up comic was called Batman Master of the Future, set in 1892, but it no longer had Mignola as the artist because I think he might have been busy at Dark Horse by that time. The comic was well received, with IGN calling it the 12th best Batman OGN of all time, coming in just ahead of Tower of Babel and immediately behind Hush. So take that information and do with it what you will. Adam, have you got a list for us?
I do. If that comic book connection wasn't enough for you, let me sell everybody on Gotham by Gaslight, because this movie's got everything. As Bruce said, it's basically Jack the Ripper meets Batman. We get a Poison Ivy burlesque show, a cursing flat-cap kids knife gang who fights Batman called the Cock Robins. I'm not making that up. There's a Johnny Gobbs reference, and for those of you keeping track, that's 2 weeks in a row with deep-cut Batman 89 references in the things that we review, so I'm stoked about that. We got knife stabbing, bone breaking, whip cracking, top hats, mustaches galore, Hugo Strange with his own dope soul patch, Irish cops, a butcher shop of pigs, a dude dressed like the Shadow, a giant trap door, a Rockettes performance. You also get a Batcave that's up instead of down. A crazy person pit complete with full body, including head straitjacket guy. We got Chekhov's spotlight, Chekhov's Ferris wheel, Chekhov's Zeppelins, complete with explosions. High collars, a rooftop chase, bat ear shaving, Batman in jail, Harvey Dent with a John Waters mustache with lines like, better shave those claws, kitten. Selena Kyle with great lines like, that's a load of eyewash. And James Gordon with lines like, there are no rules in hell. And of course, Batman with lines like, I paid Houdini $300 for that trick. A good old-fashioned prison Donnybrook, a steam-powered bat cycle, a move by Batman that makes Batman Begins Ra's al Ghul death look like a mercy killing, and a twist that actually makes this movie worth the fact that my HBO account got hacked and I'm going to have to change all of my credit card info because my life is grand. This movie does have everything, though.
Wow.
Yeah, and congratulations on making the HBO work. I know that it was a nightmare at one point for you.
Makes me feel bad for recommending this now.
Nah, I mean, like it's all fine, but it's one of those things where it's like I gotta yell at HBO because they don't have their customer service is non-existent. It just doesn't exist. You can't go, like, there's no place to get help on the site. There's nothing. And there's no two-factor authentication. It's unreal.
That'll all get better when they hand it off to the Discover people.
Yeah. You know, I've just been waiting for the Discover people to get in and put their taste on it. All right, let's go ahead. What did you guys think of this movie? Because I had kind of a roller coaster of emotions while watching it.
Was your roller coaster of emotions because of the movie?
No, well, I mean, no. Yes, because I didn't know what this was. I had no idea, and it's funny because I'd seen the artwork before, but in passing, like quick passing, I always thought it was the Penguin in the background and not actually Catwoman. So that shows you how well I paid attention to everything.
Wow, that's not an easy couple of characters to confuse.
Exactly. So that shows you that, like, I had zero to no interest or knowledge of this. So when I watched it, it felt like a lot of the DC things that we've seen before. This felt like a Shawn special coming down home plate. And I was like, uh-oh, we've got a problem here. And as things went on, I started to enjoy this a whole lot more. It's not perfect. It's still got a lot of, like, little flaws that I can pick out and talk about and stuff. But I found it far more enjoyable than I initially started to because it feels like it's going to be one of those regular DC, direct animation things, but it felt different and just like we had new life breathed into it, much like the other Justice League one, the one from the future or whatever it was.
Now, I think Bruce Timm also produced this. You're talking about like the Gods and Monsters one or whatever.
I think that's what it was called, something like that, where it's like a weird alternate future.
Yeah, that was also produced by Bruce Timm. So
there you go.
He's doing some Elseworld stuff for him now. But I think I failed to manage my expectations a little bit going into this because I really, really like historical fiction. I love Sherlock Holmes. And I like things that have a good chance to be clever. And I wanted to see all the clever ways they would retrofit Gotham City to the Victorian era. And I kind of felt with this movie like it was clever, but not as clever as it thought it was, which is, kind of a bummer for me because it's not that it wasn't clever. And it's not even that the level of clever it was couldn't have worked for me, but I got the feeling by the end like they thought, wow, we were really clever, weren't we? And I'm feeling like, nah, you were just kind of clever.
I loved it.
Good.
I absolutely loved this. I didn't remember much of it, as I said at the beginning here. I didn't remember much of reading it because when I was a kid, it didn't hold my attention very hard.
This is significantly different from the comic.
Yes. Like I can tell just from the way the storytelling is watching it that clearly couldn't have been in the book, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
And I will say that it was one of those things where I thought I was going to be on my phone. And so I started watching it while on my phone. And then almost 5-10 minutes into it, the phone went onto the coffee table. And so that is a really good mark for me of, I'm enjoying this. I'm not fiddling with my phone anymore. And having it be having it be Bruce Greenwood as the voice of Batman adds so much to this property for me. I think that since everybody wants Kevin Conroy is everyone's
Gold
Batman.
standard.
Yes, but it's not. Bruce Greenwood has an amazing voice, and he's very, very good as both Batman and as Bruce Wayne. And I just really like him as an actor. And so once I figured out that's who it was just amazing.
If people weren't familiar with that name, could you say a few things to let them know who he is?
He is Pike in the J.J. Abrams Star Trek. He's the guy that convinces Kirk that he needs to join Starfleet. And, his voice has gravity when he speaks. And I'm not saying everything Bruce Greenwood does is great. It's not. But when he is cast correctly and when the property is the right thing for him, the right fit, he's perfect. And this is one of those moments where I was just like, yowza, Bruce Greenwood is Batman. Sign me up.
Did you see who the actor was that portrayed Selena Kyle's voice?
I sure did, and she is overacting in this as she did in every episode of Dexter.
What are you talking about? She's very, very subtle all the time.
Oh my Lord!
The only thing I can think about with her, it's like this speed bump, this obstacle that I cannot overcome, is the fact that she dated Dexter in real life, but she was his sister in the show.
Oh, you got to go 2 steps further than that, sir. Mm-hmm. He was also married to her, and then they divorced while they were still shooting the show.
But they were still brother and sister after the divorce.
Right. But they're still on the show. I mean, just ridiculous.
Nothing crazy going on in that relationship at all.
Oh my God. And Jennifer Carpenter, maybe there's people who think that she's great. I've always thought that she's a massive overactor. And the only thing that kept her from being in the spotlight of overacting on that show in the first place was when Dukes was on the show, because that guy was the worst overactor on the planet. And then when he gets killed off and it's just her, I was like, oh my Lord, that lady is overacting like crazy.
Was Dukes the big muscular guy?
Yes.
Oh, I love that guy. Yeah, he's my kind of actor.
Yes, I know.
Of course he is.
I told you that Dexter's creepy.
He's flying across the room. Bruce Greenwood, it's interesting because you can definitely hear his voice. If you know his voice, it's very specific and everything. But after a while, you stop thinking about it. Mm-hmm. And he really does become, Batman. Like you said, Conroy's the gold standard, but for what he does and everything, it's really good. And he floats away and Bruce Wayne kind of shows up. And I think that's pretty great.
Yeah.
I also think something that's kind of telling about the approach taken to this movie. Bruce Timm was interviewed about it, and he was asked what influences went into his vision for this movie. And he mentioned several things, and none of them were the graphic novel, but one of them was an episode of Gilligan's Island.
What now?
Yes. There's an episode of Gilligan's Island where I don't know if it's Gilligan gets hit on the head with a coconut and he has a hallucination or a dream or whatever, but the whole cast is in Victorian England. And
one of those episodes is called We Found Some Stuff back in Wardrobe and we've decided to write an episode around it.
But what really got me in the interview is it's pretty clear that Bruce Timm is a Sherlock Holmes fan, like I am. And the original was, Batman set in this Victorian setting, but they didn't try to draw parallels to Sherlock Holmes. But with this version, he is kind of saying, okay, so Selena Kyle is going to be our Irene Adler. Of course, we know that Sherlock is going to be Batman. We've got the Baker Street Irregulars are the Robins, and you can just kind of see it. And there's even some direct quotes. I think when Jack the Ripper, who, I mean, do we go ahead and say spoilers here? If people don't want to know who Jack the Ripper is, you want to quit listening.
Yes,
here.
there's a big spoiler, which I honestly believe
this is a mystery.
It's a big twister too. I mean, like it's the biggest twister where I was like, what?
It was a big enough one where I was just like, you know what? I like the guts that this movie has on it to do this. I thought it was really, really smart. So you've had enough time if you haven't, turned it off by now, but go ahead.
But anyway, I thought that the twist was a bridge too far, but that's not what I'm talking about yet. Yeah. But when Gordon drugs Selena, he uses a 7% solution of all these things. And of course, the 7% solution is an important phrase for Sherlock Holmes fans because he used a 7% solution of his drugs to get high and to intensify his concentration. There's a part where Batman says, my mentor told me you have to rule out what's impossible. Whatever is left, however improbable, has to be the answer. And that's Sherlock Holmes says that a few times.
Yeah.
So it's like almost saying he was mentored in Europe or in the UK by Sherlock Holmes before he came back to Gotham. So those are a couple of real directs. And then, of course, Tim says he's trying to fit these different characters into the different parts. It's just kind of funny to think that Alfred is Mrs. What's-her-name, who's the house lady that takes care of the place. I can't remember her name, but back at Baker Street. So I do like that aspect to it, but I do think that the twist didn't work as well as it could have.
Oh, I totally disagree with you, Bruce. It was literally the cherry on top selling point for me, where I was like, man, these folks know exactly what they're doing. Because the entire time, they keep showing your hand on Harvey. And so the entire show, for the rest of the show, is like, okay, let's get to the point where Harvey is clearly Jack the Ripper. And when they completely flip the script on you, I was so blown away by that.
Yeah. Also, I was thinking Mask of the Phantasm the whole time and waiting for it to be, the female love interest is revealed to be Jack the Ripper.
Oh, that would have been. Oh boy, I would have hated that.
What are you talking about? That Mask of the Phantasm, it would have taken 7.5 hours to get there.
Yeah.
I do. Let me. If I can steer us off course for a second here, because I'm going to forget later. Bruce, have you read Andy Ware's Moriarty?
No, I haven't.
It's pretty great. It's a series of short stories. If you're on the Audible app, you can get it for free.
Nice.
And it's not very long. It's like 2 hours, I think. And it's just all these short stories of Moriarty as a whatever he calls himself, criminal specialist or something like that. And it's really great. And I enjoyed it immensely. I don't know if you will, being a massive Sherlock Holmes fan. I'm a Sherlock Holmes fan the same way that most of the public is a Star Trek fan. Like, They know who Kirk and like Kirk's a ladies' man and like they know that stuff about it, but that's about it. And that's how I am with Sherlock Holmes. So like, just keep that in mind. But it's great. It's written by the guy who wrote The Martian. I mean, it's awesome.
Yeah. I mean, I know who Andy Weir is, but I'll have to check those out. He's a great writer.
Yeah. I enjoyed it immensely.
But I guess my problem with the twist is at that point, you might as well have Batman actually be the Ripper.
Like there's what are you talking about?
Huh? There's a few sacred cows in Gotham City. And I think that Gordon, in all the stories, Gordon is always one of those sacred cows. Like I could have dealt with it being Alfred probably easier than Gordon.
Isn't that what makes it great, though, Bruce?
Yes,
I totally
agree with you.
Never in a million years because of the 50 plus years, however long it is, about 80 years. I don't know. Batman's been around since the dawn of time. But we've got it in our heads as that's the guy, and he is, he's over the police and everything, and he is a good guy. And when they turn it, and the way that they write him is in that great, super great. He's got like these V for Vendetta psychopath, monologues and stuff that he goes on and everything.
Surgeon here.
It's kind of great. I really loved it.
Totally agree. I think that. This is the rare occasion where it feels like I'm the one fighting for the cartoon here. Yeah. I think that, I think because it just took me so much by surprise. I expected literally nothing from this. I expected it to be something where it's the same thing again, where it is like that guy's gonna be the Joker, don't you get it? Like I thought it was gonna be a whole lot of that, and they really do very minimal on that. And I like some of the touches. Like I like the fact that Batman doesn't have a whole ton of gadgetry. Like, it's mostly just a dude who's walking around at night with his two fists. And I love that.
It also feels a lot like Batman Year One. Like he's not real good at being Batman yet.
Right. And I love that. I love that part of it.
And I think I don't want to spoil a totally unrelated property, but you guys will kind of know what I'm getting at. I was kind of wanting Hush to be the Ripper.
Okay.
But they didn't build that up at all.
That definitely would have been something. But I mean, we do have the team of Robins, which I thought, like, at first I'm like, wait a minute, now is this just a little? And then you're like, nope, this is very purposeful what they're doing here.
Yeah, it's great. And I got to tell you, if I have my choice of calling the first Robin by name, I'm going with Dickie, like this movie.
No, I'm going to go the cock Robin known as Dickie.
Perfect. Perfect.
I like how they're like, oh, you can go ahead. The little crime boss is getting mad at the kids and like, well, if you want, you can beat up on Jason for a while. I love it. Even they don't like Jason Todd.
Well, because he's also the worst one of them, right?
Well, he's the middle kid and he's got red hair. You notice that?
Yeah, you just punch the crap out of him. You'll feel better.
There's a lot of things like I think that I do agree with you in this aspect, Bruce. I'm not exactly sure who this is for, because if you are totally and utterly into steampunk, there isn't enough of that in this for you. And if you're totally into Sherlock Holmes, there's not enough mystery to it, right?
I think there's enough mystery. There's just not enough clues. And then when you get a clue, they just reveal who it is.
Gotcha.
That's kind of where I'm at. And some of the fun with Sherlock Holmes is when you're reading the story. If it's done well, you're reading the story, you're watching the movie, it kind of comes out of the blue, but then you retrace the steps. You're like, oh, the info was there all along and I just couldn't see it. And, this never kind of has that same aha. But I can admire for what they were going for. But Jim Gordon's never been a surgeon before. Jack the Ripper, kind of the nice behind the scenes lore. He needs to be a surgeon. This, it would have maybe helped a little bit if Bruce Timm had read From Hell a couple more times before they worked on this.
Oh man, I don't wish that on anyone.
Oh.
No, the comic's good, just not the movie.
Oh my Lord. The comic is 1,000. It takes you 1,000
like
years.
1,100 pages. Through. Yeah, you're right.
That was one. Like I've seen the movie, right? And so I flipped through. That's one that you always kind of see in the store and stuff. You flip through, and then you see just the ungodly amount of dialogue, and it's just like it's going to be 8 weeks to read this thing. I'm putting it back.
Yeah, it's one of those It's one of those collections that I stand on when I need to work on the roof or something. Put up Christmas lights.
It's the least fun comic book read I think I've ever had.
But it's really good.
It is, but it's not fun. It is a part-time job.
It's not a real laugh riot like V for Vendetta. Like seriously, I'm not making a joke. Like that V for Vendetta is a lot of fun.
Yeah, V for Vendetta is fun.
I loved the kind of art style of this and everything. Even though the color palette and everything's fairly limited, it seemed to be just enough. Not quite. Super great, but good enough to where it felt like they had really designed this world quite well. Even if, like, I understand where you're going, Bruce, with the whole, the World's Fair stuff. I felt like that was an excuse to get the what do you call it, Ferris wheel in there.
Well, it wasn't the Ferris wheel; it was the Fox wheel. Because what does work for me is I love all the retrofitted Easter eggs. So the Fox wheel by the incredible inventor Lucius Fox instead of Major Ferris, who invented the Ferris wheel. Because these things are named after people. So it was Lucius Fox. That was the Fox wheel. And then,
of course,
he's fighting Cyrus Gold when he's in prison. And the astute watcher knows that Cyrus Gold is Solomon Grundy. And it's like those little twists, the little added bits are always kind of fun for me. I like to watch and see how they're going to retrofit this. So all those little pickups were fun for me.
Solomon Grundy want pants too.
Yeah. This was before he was buried in the swamp or whatever.
I liked the fact that, like you said, we didn't go into the having to see everybody or have any kind of characters represent like, oh, that guy's going to be the Joker. And even with Catwoman, it was so just like, oh, she's got her whip, she's got like this circus background, which I thought her backstory was really good. I liked his ability to then look at her and, again, very Sherlock Holmes-esque, where it's just like, oh, I noticed this, and this, and that's how I know all the things about you. It just worked really well. It never felt like they were leaning too far into the crazy comic book stuff of it, but never shying away from it either.
And, I kind of would have liked it if they'd given Gordon a limp and played him into the Watson role and let somebody else, I still wanted to see him push the Sherlock Holmes parallels a little bit more, because I feel like they didn't do as much as they could have there.
I just because you're downplaying this, I almost forgot something that we should have talked about earlier in the show, and he may take this back now. Nate actually upped his Patreon money. I should have said this earlier. He went from he jumped up to the $20 level on Team Bruce. He may take that back now after he hears this.
No, Team Bruce is great. Team Bruce is great. I'm just saying they could have played up the Sherlock Holmes a little bit more, or they could have played up the Batman a little bit more. Maybe taking the middle road was smart. Sometimes people don't like it when things do what I want them to do.
If I had my way, the world would run under my watch, doggone it.
Well, of course.
Here's where that Bruce Magneto thing starts kicking in if we're not careful.
I could throw that fox wheel across the sky. Yeah.
All right, go pick up your phone. All right, so
that wasn't me.
That wasn't me either. That's weird.
That phone has been dead for 10 years.
The phone is inside the house.
No! I'd feel really bad if it was being also. But no, I like this a whole bunch. I was surprised but here's the thing. As much as I like some of it, some of the action is like really, really great, and some of it is super bland, and it's like, and the Sam Liu, I believe, is the director's name of this. He's done like 8 gajillion of these things. And while there was one good, it's not amazing.
Yeah, he's kind of like, house director. They call him in. He does this like he's done the last few he's done. And the movie has a problem for me. There was a fight that wasn't a bad fight, but it wasn't a great fight. And it just kind of kept going on when I was ready to see what would happen at the end of the fight.
Mm. Yeah, and a lot of that comes from the fact that, like, there's so much of it, and you enjoy this in real fights because you get to see the artistry of actual people doing these incredible things, where you hold on this, the more wide shot and everything. And while that's impressive in real life, in animation, you can do anything. So feel free to cut to your mind's content. But that also creates a whole lot more work. So therefore, they're not going to do that as much. So it still kind of stays on this wide as best they can, and it doesn't really work all the time.
And I mean, this movie is about the atmosphere. It's about the art. It's about the mystery. It's about the Easter eggs. This one doesn't really need a whole lot of prolonged fights.
No, but we do decide to have a Rockettes performance in the middle of the movie for, honest to goodness, no real good reason. I don't
even know if that's period accurate. You know what I mean? Like the Rockettes, I don't get it.
Well, maybe they're not the Rockettes per se.
Yeah. Maybe it's can.
It's more of a can.
Yeah, the can gals. And the fact that this has got to be a pretty nice joint, that it's got like a 3-level balcony. Not too shabby, whatever location this is.
They didn't have cable back then, man. They could build grand theaters.
People got to get in. It's 2 farthings unless you want to sit up in the nice seats.
What else you gonna do? Go stare at poor people dying?
Let's go wave at ships.
Yes, bon voyage.
Somebody's leaving and somebody's coming in. We got a busy day, boys. Get your waving hands ready.
Yeah, you had 2 choices. You either worked 18 hours a day or you went to the theater nonstop. So, that was it.
That man's standing on a pole. Let's watch.
Of course, you got John DiMaggio coming in as Bullock, which it took me a while to figure out that was actually Bullock, because like I don't know that I've really seen him drawn that way before.
Yeah, don't they call him Bulldog or something too?
Bulldog Bullock.
Yeah, something like that.
I mean, Hall of Famer.
Man, they pulled. I mean, they're pulling in all the bigs. Tara Strong's in this. DiMaggio's in this. The Kari Wuhrer is in this. But even Bruce Timm has a role in this movie.
Yeah, he's like the radio guy, I think.
He sure is. And so, whenever I see that Tara Strong and John DiMaggio are involved in something, I'm like, oh, these are people who actually care about what they're sending out.
Yeah, and they cared enough to pay the good people. So that means they care.
And also Jennifer Carpenter.
Well,
I like it. Okay, all the good people and Jennifer Carpenter. We have an announcement.
Jennifer Carpenter opens up her iPhone this week and just goes, I wonder what that new hero movie, you son of a... I enjoyed this show all the way up until this episode, and then it all just went downhill. We're sorry, Jennifer. We don't. It's okay. It's just Sean. Let's see. I'm trying to think. I had a couple.
Eat a sandwich if you're listening, Jennifer Carpenter. You're too skinny.
Oh, I agree with that.
Don't body shame.
Shut up, fatso.
As a fat person who I believe body shaming works. You should I do. Call me a fatty. It makes me feel bad, and I try and I go, you know what? I do need to get into shape. I
cut
will
down to 7 burritos a day when people.
I will.
shame.
Yeah, exactly. I'll cut down to 6 burritos and I'll walk a little bit. All right. You leave me to my own devices. Doggone. Let's see. Yeah, I did like the bat. Again, I want to talk a real half second. I wish it was used more. I love the bat cycle. I thought it was like this really cool looking design and everything.
Totally
that
agree.
was the steampunk part of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. If there was more of that kind of stuff, if we would have gotten like, a Batmobile like that, because really, for the most part, his traveling really just consists of the grappling hook, which fair enough has always been cool.
Yeah.
But
And
that's really all he's kind of done.
The downtown blimp circuit. Like, I felt like they were flying that blimp a little low. I don't know. I didn't live in the time of high blimp travel, but I feel like you fly a little higher than that if you're going to fly around
Well,
town.
Bruce, the FAA wasn't actually put together until 1947, so really you could go hog wild at this time.
I also get the feeling you don't have all that much control over how high the blimp flies. You just untie the rope and hope for the best.
It's like we're just praying this goes up. That's how you christen a ship. Just go up, please.
What is the purpose of all the wires that hang off of a blimp? Is it to guide it when it's closer to the ground?
It's because parachutes hadn't been invented yet. So in worst case scenario, you got to slide down the wire. I don't know.
Because it's in everything, right? There's wires dangling from every blimp I've ever seen, in movies anyway, in television shows. Like I'm thinking of The Rocketeer here specifically. And so, and so I'm wondering if like there has to be a purpose for it, or is it just whole cloth a movie thing?
I would imagine in the early days of lighter than air travel that was a significant part of landing. It's like you managed to get down, just like you said, so the crew could get a hold of it and guide it to the flat spot where it was supposed to land.
Those are called guide wires.
Yeah, because, once when you get up high enough with the blimp, you don't have the crosswinds. You start getting down lower and the winds might kick in and you could end up landing on your side or something. So those are probably things that like people grabbed on and hope they lived to make it home and eat a sandwich. If things went bad, they probably went real bad. I've seen a few Macy's Thanksgiving Day parades to know those guide wires don't give you as much guidance as you need sometimes.
And it's better than getting it down the old way, which was just shooting shotguns at it till it came on down. This will get it out in the sky. Don't worry. Batman went to prison. I kind of not knowing anything. I was very shocked at that. I love that he gets that. It's the classic old. There's this giant guy that's beating the ever living crap out of everybody, and then of course he just goes, "I'll take a pass at you, boy," and then just goes beats the crap out of that guy. Starts a giant prison riot just to kind of sneak out the back, all like Steve Buscemi style. It was kind of great.
I like it. It's as simple as ducking one punch and the wrong guy gets punched and then the brawl breaks out.
I like his Bugs Bunny copper voice also that he has when he's walking out of there.
Yeah.
He's not hiding in the stove.
No, another one I want to hear about us chickens, I'll tell you that. So, all right. So let's talk about the Gordon / Ripper death, because oh my word, Batman just straight up handcuffs Gordon to. Oh, by the way, I love the we had kind of a Defiant Ones sort of situation for like 5 seconds where Gordon and Batman are handcuffed. I would like to see an entire movie with that, just them trying to be on the lam, handcuffed together. All of those movies are great. Midnight Run, you name them, they're all the great movies. More of that, please. But I thought I was just like, holy crap, he's not only just handcuffing there, he's watching him burn to death as he just, like, for the last second, beats out the flame getting off of the, whatever it was, the Zeppelin there, I guess. But is that the most brutal we've seen Batman actually kill somebody in one of these things, or at least that I can remember?
Well,
I would say it's pretty hard to top this one.
And if I'm remembering correctly, Batman does say to Harvey, or does say to Gordon, Gordon, don't, as he's walking backwards into the fire.
Oh, don't kill yourself.
That absolves him of any guilt.
Yeah, exactly. At least he tried.
Don't walk into the fire.
I have that thing
where
I'm driving, and if there's if the light's going yellow to red, you just close your eyes. If you didn't see the red, it's like it didn't really count. Just keep on rolling. It's just officer, I didn't see it. I mean, I specifically closed my eyes so I couldn't see it, but nevertheless, I did not see it. I didn't.
Did he say he paid Houdini $300 to teach him that?
$300.
Did.
That's a lot of money. That's a lot of money now. So it's definitely a lot of money back then for some close-up magic. Yeah, that was probably every magician's dream was to get a rich guy to give you $300 to show him a trick.
I showed him just how to get out of a handcuff and just cuff it to something else. He gave me $300.
He's the handcuff killer of Gotham.
I've never made so much money in one day. It's been fantastic.
Imagine how hard it would be to be a serial killer who specialized in people burning alive on Ferris wheels, because you only get so many opportunities to burn a Ferris wheel.
Well, first of all, you would need a lot of weird experts in this one, because you'd need a blimp expert, you would need a Ferris wheel expert, there's a lot of things that you think there probably is two guys, or there's there's no blimp historian podcast, you know what I mean?
yeah
there's no the massive history of the Ferris wheel.
Yeah, there's no schools in either blimp technician or Ferris wheel technician at your local community college. That's serious apprenticeship pathway to getting where you're going.
Hey, you guys ever see that TLC show where people are in love with inanimate objects, and this person was attracted to a Ferris wheel?
What?
Yeah, it's just I love you, Ferris wheel.
I don't need to see that.
And
I don't need to see that.
They gave a Ferris wheel a kiss.
I don't need to see that at all. Don't even need to hear about it, man. That's enough, Adam.
There's also another one with a car. What's wrong with you?
Too much. You said too much. Are you guys familiar with The Devil in the White City?
Oh, I love that. Eric Larson's one of my favorite writers.
I do
no
not
relation to the Savage Dragon guy, right?
No, none.
But that was also something that Bruce Timm cited as kind of an influence for this, and I can see that more than Gilligan's Island.
Totally can see that.
And so what is that? I'm unaware.
It's about H.H. Holmes,
a serial killer at the World's Fair in Chicago.
Okay.
Also, Eric, if you like that book, Bruce, and you haven't read it yet, read Thunderstruck, which is his best, in my opinion, his best book, and it's about a guy. It's a guy who has murdered a bunch of people, and he gets on a boat for England to try to escape, and he's the first guy to get caught with the Marconi wire. It's awesome.
Oh, that does sound cool.
It goes through both things, his history and Marconi trying to build the wire. It's really great, or the wireless, I should say. And it's a really terrific book. It's my favorite nonfiction book of all time.
If my love of 80s hair metal taught me anything, it's that Tesla should get the credit that was given to Marconi.
Mm-hmm.
Well, don't read the other one. That that Thunderstruck book is by Angus Young. That's a different biography. You don't want to. Don't. It's. They will get very confusing. You'll be like, when's this showing up? And it's just tour buses and all that kind of good stuff.
And a lot of Australian lore.
All right, before we get to our final rating here and everything, we have to ask ourselves one very important question: is how does this animated film relate back 1-to-1 with Sylvester Stallone?
Why, thank you, Adam. I have a prepared statement.
Oh.
Mr. Stallone, today I'd like to talk to you about fellow actor Bruce Greenwood. He's the voice of Batman in Gotham by Gaslight, where he's great as always, and my second favorite Batman voice right behind Jeremy Sisto. Bruce Greenwood has been acting since 1977 when he got his start on the Canadian television series The Beachcombers, which is the same show where Michael J. Fox got his start. I've never seen the show since I'm not Canadian. But one time when I was visiting Canada, someone walked up to me and mistakenly thought I was, which may be my biggest compliment I've ever received. I'm proud to be an American, but I'm not super proud, if you catch my meaning. Anyway, Bruce Greenwood has a great nickname too, Mr. Stallone. It's Green Dog, which was his nickname growing up. Is it possible that Bruce Greenwood is a bigger dude, bro, than I thought? He almost became a professional downhill skier. He also looks like one of those guys who's way too into his dogs. The kind of guy who says stuff like, I'd love to hang out with you guys tonight, but we're going to have to figure out a place that I can also take my 3 dogs with me. No thanks, Green Dog. We'll just have to hang out without you. Green Dog played guardsman number 5 in the movie First Blood, which I think is still your best movie, Mr. Stallone. He was supposed to have 12 lines of dialogue in that movie, but none of them made the final cut. So these days, when watching First Blood, you'll find yourself saying things like, wait a second, is that a very young Bruce Greenwood? And let me tell you, Sly, it is. It's the Green Dog himself. And here we are again, Mr. Stallone. That's how you're connected to this rated R cartoon for children. I hope to hear from you soon. This is the 367th time we've tried this bit. I'll do better next week. Thank you. Your friend, Sweet Shawnsy from the internet.
My. Oh, and a big happy... Sylvester Stallone's got like quite a lot of special dates in his life that's happened over the last like maybe 2 weeks, I guess. It's his wife Jennifer's birthday yesterday, and then
what?
Previous to that, their like 24th or 26th wedding anniversary. Then just before that, Stallone's 50 or 79th birthday. I don't know. He's a billion years old. But Sylvester Stallone been celebrating all over the map these days, man. And he's got all of these connections. So if only he knew about that bit. Go ahead and just tweet him out. That's all we're asking everybody. All right, so before we get to it, let's get down to our Robin rating. All right, here at Hero Movie Podcast, we have our own patented Robin rating system. Check it out over our subreddit, reddit.com/r/Hero Movie Podcast. It's right there at the top of the screen. Bruce, where does Gotham by Gaslight fall in the Robin rating system for you?
You know, it's got a fun atmosphere. It's got some cool stuff going for it. Just didn't get its hooks in me all the way, but it wasn't really bad. It's a fine thing to watch on like a Sunday afternoon. I would recommend it for that. I also think it's fine to watch with your older kids. You know, I wouldn't be watching with the 7-year-old. They're going to get bored. But if your 11, 12-year-old likes Batman, they might think it's cool. And I think it's mostly okay. As long as you don't mind them hearing about, murdering prostitutes in the street, you're cool.
Yeah.
So anyway,
if your kids will look at our young Robin dropping an S-bomb and will do the same thing, maybe that might not be the one to watch with the kids. But if they don't care about that, then knock them out.
If it's you make a good point there. Watch it with your slightly older kids. Yeah. But I'm going to give it a Damian Wayne. It's got its ups, it's got its downs.
People do get pretty brutally murdered in this show as well.
Yeah. After I said that, I really wished I hadn't.
That's all right. Well, don't worry, I'll edit it out.
Of course you will.
Sean.
Wait by the phone for that call. This is Tim Drake for me. I really, really enjoyed this, and I did not think I would. I didn't even know if I was going to slightly pay attention to this while it was airing in my home. But I loved it. I thought it was very good. I like a majority of the voice cast. And I don't know if I'll ever see this again, but if somebody were to go, hey, what do you think of that Gotham by Gaslight? I'll give him a big old thumbs up. It's a Tim Drake for me.
Yeah, hi Tim Drake for me as well. I think that's the big thing, is that this may not be something that you will revisit on a regular basis. This is probably, for the majority of people out there, a one and done thing. But I think you could do, as far as DC animated properties are, you can do a lot worse than this. I think this is a whole heck of a lot of fun.
I'd like to see him do more stuff playing with like historical settings. Like I wouldn't mind seeing like I don't know, like a German existential kind of take on it, like M or something. I wouldn't mind seeing a noir Batman movie. So I hope they would continue to do this sort of thing.
And
I would love to see something like, never mind. Keep going.
What I was going to say is I think that there's something, I forgot. Sean, you got me off. I think it's a lot of
way to the day.
All the people that don't have the Dinger Zone won't understand what that is. Patreon.com/HMP. That's what I wanted to say, because if you enjoy this show, whatever this show means to you, put that in a dollar form, send it off our way. The top of the month is coming up very soon. We again want to thank Nate for jumping up, and our newest Patreon member. I was trying to scroll up to remember the name. St. Kitts. Thanks for joining on as well. So again, whatever you feel that this show is worth, patreon.com/HMP. We really appreciate that. And all of you fine people. We'll talk about what we're doing next week in just a moment's time. Bruce, where might we find more of your work on the internet this week?
I'd love people to go check out the YouTube channel, youtube.com/C/Bruce Leslie. Lots of anime reviews and reactions, particularly if you're a fan of Attack on Titan. Go check it out.
And you can also follow Bruce's teeth adventures over at over his YouTube channel as well. Poor guy. I believe you me. No one knows your pain more than I. Sean?
Oh, I do too. 2 years. 2 years. Anyway, you can find us at 30 Questions, where we ask 30 questions of some nerdy ass property. We're not doing it right now, but if you had a Marvel TV show that wasn't a cartoon, we have reviewed that. Or maybe you like that Watchmen show. We did that too. Or how you feel about the Star Wars. I love it. And The Mandalorian is my favorite Star Wars property as an adult. So we have a lot to say about that show, as you can imagine.
Tons of questions, so go check those out. Links for all of those, of course, are in the show notes, as always. Next week, speaking of which, we're going to be doing a little, we mentioned animation, but there's more animation out there. We're going to watch the first 2 episodes of What If. Since we're not doing a 30 questions on that, that's one of the things that we were asked by actually a decent amount of people. Maybe we should have, but not that big of a number, but enough to where we just go, people want to hear our opinions on the What If shows. So every couple one of those that drops every now and then, we'll do a couple, but we'll do the first 2 next week, share our thoughts on those, and follow up with the other ones as they come out as well, because that's what we do here. We watch all this stuff, so hopefully you will too. All right, that is it, everybody. Join us next week when we're talking about the first 2 episodes of What If. For Sweet Sean Kovacs from the internet, Bruce Leslie, I'm Matt Portress. Stay super, everybody.
I'm Marty Needy.
That's the night that the lights went out in Georgia. That's the night that they hung an innocent man. Well, don't trust your soul to no backwoods southern lawyer, 'cause the judge in the town's got bloodstains on his hands. Well, Andy got scared and left the bar, walking on home 'cause he didn't live far. See, Andy didn't have many friends and he just lost him one. Brother thought his wife must have left town, so he went home and finally found the only thing Papa had left him, and that was a gun. Then he went off to Andy's house, slipping through the backwoods quiet as a mouse. Came upon some tracks too small for Andy to make. He looked through the screen at the back porch door, and he saw Andy lying on the floor in a puddle of blood, and he started to shake. Well, the Georgia patrol wasn't making their rounds, so he fired a shot just to flag them down. And a big-bellied sheriff grabbed his gun and said, "Why'd you do it?" And the Judge said guilty in a make-believe trial. Slapped the sheriff on the back with a smile. Said supper's waiting at home and I gotta get to it. That's the night that the lights went out in Georgia. That's the night that they hung an innocent man. But don't trust your soul to no backwoods southern lawyer, 'cause the judge in the town's got bloodstains on his hands. Well, they hung my brother before I could say the tracks he saw while on his way to Andy's house and back that night were mine. And his cheap wife had never left town, and that's one body that'll never be found. See, little sister don't miss when she aims her gun. That's the night that the lights went out in Georgia. Oh, oh, oh. That's the night that they hung an innocent man. Uh-huh. But don't trust your soul and no backwoods southern lawyer, 'cause the judge in the town's got bloodstains on his